All right, so let me get straight into this video because it won't be long. I'm going to talk about the specs of the PlayStation, what was revealed. And the reason I feel like I should talk about this is because a lot of people don't really understand hardware on this side of YouTube. And I actually do. As you know, I have an extensive background in console repair, primarily PlayStation and Xbox consoles. I spent a lot of time repairing them, worked in a repair shop. So I know a little bit about the ins and outs of the console. I would say I'm at least qualified to talk about this a little bit more than the average person. So with that being said, I'm going to get into what I read and what I hear people saying and what I think. And I'm going to break it down for you guys. First of all, before I begin, let's get all of the biased, non-biased stuff out of the way. Yes, I'm an expert Xbox preferred console player. However, I did start out on PlayStation and did not join Xbox until Xbox 360. So with that being said, understand there is a little ponydom in me. You understand me? Pause. But there's a little bit of ponyness in blood. You feel me? So with that being said, the PS5 is obviously a day one cop for me. I always get excited for hardware. I actually get a little bit more excited for hardware than I actually do software. What's good in the chat, everybody? So I'm going to get this video out the way. I'm going to give you about 10, 15, 20 minutes, and then I'm going to get out of here, okay? So let's talk about the hardware. And there's a couple of red flags here. And there's something I need to let you guys know about 8K. So let's start with the 8K. For you guys to understand what 8K is, you have to understand that 8K is currently not being measured. The reason 8K is not being measured is because of the pixel count. Why is the pixel count hard to measure? I'm going to explain this to you. And please, if anybody's going to take this information or you see them taking this information after I say it, please tell them, hey, you know, shout me out or what have you, because they're getting this probably from me and they don't want to quote unquote give me my credit for it. But at least, you know, let them, someone acknowledge this information came from me, because a lot of people don't know what I'm about to tell you. But as far as 8K is concerned, it cannot be currently measured because the pixels are too small. The pixels on 8K are so fine and so small and so detailed that they currently do not have a way to measure them. Don't believe me? Go to Digital Foundry, type in 8K on the YouTube channel and listen to what they have to say about it. Go to rtings.com, the TV review company. As a matter of fact, they recently did a review for the 8K Samsung TV, and they actually say that in the video as well. If you don't believe me, those are sources that you can check. I'm trying to educate you guys so you know what you're talking about when you go into people's chat and act like you know what you're talking about, okay? So 8K is currently not measured, so no one has a true definition of what 8K is. What mean? This simply means that when you see people quoting 8K, they can quote unquote get away with it because there's no way to tell if they're lying or not. So if it is above 6K currently, it is not really measurable. They're currently able to measure 4K, 5K, and they're working on 6K kinda. They have not got a measuring device able to count the pixels of 8K currently because it is too small. Okay, so just when you hear people like say, hey, the PS5 is going to be 8K, keep this term in mind for you console guys, because this is a term you really didn't hear. Native 8K is something that is not a thing yet. So when you hear 8K, long as the pixel count is bumped into a certain amount of numbers and colors, then it qualifies as 8K, but it doesn't mean that it's actually native 4K. So what does that mean? Is I can take 8K, put it on the screen 4 times, mush it together, and I can call that 8K. Doesn't mean it's native, which is actually 4 times 4K, right? So you guys understand the measurements on that? So let's move forward. Now, the Samsung TV at 65 inches for 8K is going at roughly $4,500 to $5,000. I think I've seen it somewhere for $4,000 on sale. You are not getting anything less than that for 8K. So finding a device that can display 8K means that the PS5 is looking at a price tag of around maybe $1,000 at this point. So that means that the 8K thing is something that they might be using as a hype word or a buzzword, and it may not be true. However, it's possible, but it's just not native 4K. It won't be native 4K. I'm willing to bet my life on that it won't be native 4K, okay? They may say it is, but when Digital Foundry gets their hands on it, it will be proven that it won't be native 4K. So that doesn't bother me. I'm okay with that. I don't need it to be native 4K. If it's native, I mean 8K. If it's native 4K, beautiful. If it's anything better than what we got with the Pro, I'm actually okay with that. Just bump up the frame rates. Yeah, I'm willing to, like he said, I'm willing to put my life on it simply because I know hardware. And like I said in the beginning of the video, I repair consoles. I know a lot about hardware, and I know a lot about the hardware and what's needed to do what they're claiming already, and that's not possible for anything less than $1,000. Anyway, we're gonna get into all that. We're gonna get into that. I'm not gonna just bash the console. I got some stuff to say about it. Now, I'm trying to educate you on what the buzzwords that are being used. These words can be manipulated, and you guys can be fooled. Temper your expectations. I'm gonna get into whether I expect native 4K. I expect native 4K because we got it already. I expect native 4K period as a standard. However, I'm worried about frame rates because people don't understand native 4K 60 is still a very expensive thing to do on hardware. If the PlayStation 5 is native 4K 60 standard, we're still looking at a $1,000 console here. So that's not feasible either. I'm looking for this console to be around $500, but 4K 60, ray tracing, SSD, 8K, this is sounding like you guys really should know better. But anyway, I understand the hype. I'm excited like you guys are. Cool. But let me break down the rest of the hardware. Let's talk about the hard drive, the SSD. People have been running around talking about SSDs. I've been on SSDs for years. Many years now I've been on SSD. I was on SSD when people didn't even know what it was. Now, you have two types of SSD currently being used for PC gaming. You have the solid state, which is the regular SATA, and then you have the PCI, which is the M2. A lot of you guys are not using M2 SSD, so you know nothing about the real power of SSD. Now, this is not the social, it's just to educate you on the differences. One is much faster. Of course, I'm using M2, which is much faster than standard, which is in Bond's PC. Bond uses a SATA connection. He uses a non-M2 connection. So his is slower than mine's. However, SSD is much faster. Now, let's explain the term SSD. SSD is simply a solid state drive, meaning non-mechanical parts. Any hard drive with a non-mechanical part is considered an SSD. Your cell phone has an SSD in it. Shout out to Lee in the chat. But I don't fuck with Lee until Lee sees me with some kind of exotic because he dipped out on me. But anyway, that's a whole nother story. I digress. So all SSD is non-mechanical part, a drive with non-mechanical moving parts. That means that what we are seeing may not be up to the standards of an actual SATA 3 SSD. Keep that in mind. Now, it may be on that level. I suspect it will be on that level. Just temper your expectations. It may not be. It may not be quite as fast as a PC's SSD standard is. It may be on the level or close. It may not be as fast. They may have some kind of voodoo magic where they claim it will be, and I'm sure Digital Foundry will say, hey, it's kind of close to that, but it's not quite that. We're going to go through all that process. But I'm telling you guys now, the terms that are being used, you have to be careful with these terms because they simply mean you're going to get a better console than the PS4, which we all know. We're going to get a great console. We know we're going to get a great console. We know the PS5 is going to be greatness, all right? I'm not even going to hold you on that. I know that. But the terms that are being used, AK, SSD, what was the other term that they used? Oh, backwards compatible. We knew that already. I've been saying PS5 will be backwards compatible. They learned from their mistakes with the PS3. That was the only PlayStation that gave them a lot of hell because of the shade process and the cell processor. Rather, correct myself, the cell processor that was in the PS3. The CPU, GPU configuration they used in that was terrible, and they learned from their mistakes. Developers had nightmares developing for it, and that was why the PS3 struggled. Plus, it was extremely pricey because it had this new architecture in it that cost a lot to manufacture. All right. So with that being said, man, the SSD can be anything non-mechanical moving, and that means that it may not be up to par with PC. So temper your expectations, you ponies. Relax, relax. The 8K could not be native, which it probably 9 out of 10 times will not be. They said that the Xbox One version, wait, let me correct my words. Let me say this right. They said that Titanfall 2 on Xbox One X hit 6K on the Xbox One X. So you already see that this stuff is possible to do. However, it was checkerboarded. So it had a dynamic scale to hit 6K, meaning all that means, and this is the term, this is a buzzword, 6K. It hit 6K. You go to Digital Foundry, watch the video. If you don't believe me, you guys are going to say, Jimmy doesn't know what he's talking about. Watch the video. Now, it hit 6K. However, all that means is it hit the pixel count. It doesn't mean that you got the actual native image, which is the one that you want. You want the native image because it looks cleaner. When you don't get the native image and you get the checkerboard, the dynamic scale, it simply means that it's taking a bunch of images and mushing them together to hit that pixel count. Doesn't mean you're getting the detail. All right? So I'm explaining this stuff to you. I don't like to do too many videos like this because I'll be educating y'all and y'all don't be showing no love for that. You feel me? But anyway, so with that being said, I'm expecting native 4K. For the most part. Not every game's going to be able to do that simply because 4K is a beast. We got to respect 4K, man. 4K did not get its time to shine. 8K is a word, and right now it's a buzzword. 8K is a thing, but right now it's not real. It's just a number that can be added up. It can be equated. It doesn't mean that you're actually getting the detail that 8K is supposed to give you. It doesn't mean it's native. All right, so with that being said, let me answer some questions from you guys before I dip out of here because I got about another 10 minutes to go before I end this. I don't want to end this too fast. I want to kind of talk to you guys so I can let you guys know I know what I be talking about. And I also want to answer some questions if somebody really want to know some stuff about this while I'm willing to talk about it now. Because I may not get a chance to talk about this again for a while. I plan on playing a lot of different games. I'm trying to beat Sekiro. I was told on Twitter that I'm at the end of the game, so I'm hyped. I'm about to have the biggest E-penis on YouTube when I beat that game. Anyway, let me stop getting hyped. I shouldn't be this hyped. All right, so let me read some comments. He set up scaled, not 8. Well, I mean, that's kind of corny. He said, oh, all right, so let me read this comment. Sparta said, Mark Cerny already confirmed this 8K upscale, not native, which is not a surprise. But anybody could claim 20K. You could do that. It doesn't mean it's going to look good. PS5 will be at least $500. PS5 will be at least $500. That's a given. Actually, I don't want to pay more than $5, but if they could cram all the stuff in it that they claim they can, I would. I would pay whatever they want. I would give them everything but the cheeks for that console. Everything but the cheeks, B. Everything but the cheeks. I mean, you know, I'm going to upload the end of the game, or I'm going to put something up so people can know I beat Sekiro. Come on, dog. I might have I'm going to be one of those people where the camera is going to be bigger than the gameplay because I want you to see that's me beating that game. You feel me? Yo, he said hard. That's funny. Yo. You beat Sekiro, wasn't impressed. Why would I be Sekiro on stream and y'all paying people $1,000 out here? Hell no. Yo, y'all, listen, man, listen. Let me say something, because see, we not even talking about PS5 no more. See how y'all changed the subject? I'm not out here selling my cheeks, B. I know my value. If I see people getting a stack for playing a game, I ain't streaming it unless I get something, dog. Y'all not be sitting up there laughing at me. That game was annoying as hell. To get where I got was super annoying. And I ain't gonna sit up there making an ass out of myself for free, my guy. Y'all giving people thousands of dollars out here. I ain't doing it for free. That's like saying, hey, I'm gonna pay you, but you work for free. Nah, dog. Y'all ain't getting none of that out of me. No shucking and jiving up out of me. Nah. I'm gonna do it behind closed doors. Do you think the PS4 will be more powerful than the Xbox One X2? I'm starting to believe so, yes. I believe that the PlayStation 5 will be more powerful because Sony seems to be going in the same direction as Microsoft. And a lot of y'all not noticing that. They're starting to accept games as a service. A lot of things they said they wouldn't do. The rumors that EA subscription is coming to PlayStation. The PlayStation Now having downloadable games. There's a lot of things that Sony is doing where they are not keeping the same energy as they started in PS4 era, which they already proved that they're willing to switch their energy when they denounced DRM, but it was rumored to be something that they were going to announce until they saw the backlash Xbox got, and then they went and changed their conference at the last minute and took all that out, which was very smart. That's a strong rumor showing that Sony's willing to change their energy. Now, as far as the hardware, it's starting to look like they will outdo Microsoft on the hardware. Why? Because to me, it seems like, and y'all tell me in the chat if I'm wrong, and I'm willing to admit this about Microsoft. Microsoft seems way too eager to hurry up and put out the next console. The Xbox One X didn't really do it what we needed it to do, but now you're ready to pull out another console. Kind of odd to me. So I think Microsoft should wait on the PS5, see what they have, and then top them. Just like they did with the 360 and the PlayStation 3. The Xbox 360 was the weaker console, but because it was easier to manufacture and produce for, it was winning up until the very end, of course. So this could be the same case now. However, the PlayStation 5 looks like they're coming out holding no punches and swinging. They look like they're coming out swinging, I'll be honest. And Microsoft look like they're kind of just in their own world and they're rushing out their console. If they rush out this console too fast, they will take a defeat on the hardware side. And I mean, it really shouldn't matter, but it mattered this generation that we're currently in to the point where they can't do that again. If Microsoft comes in with another underwhelming Connect 3, Xbox One X2, 5 gigs are dedicated to the Connect, and all this stuff that they did before, they're finished after this. This will be their last generation of even being respected as a console. So I don't think they're going to be that foolish and do that, but it's starting to look like Sony is willing to do what they have to do to solidify the hardware game right now, which they normally don't do. But they, like I said, Sony switches their energy up, and that's why they're able to stay on top like they are. They will go in there and 360 immediately out of some shit they was doing if they think it's going to fuck up their plans and going forward. And I actually like that about Sony. I'll give them that. They will 360 on it. They will divert a complete strategy. And companies don't do that because you lose money when you do that as a company. But Sony will do that to make sure that they get that brand out there the way they want it. I like how they do quality over quantity. I like that about Sony. Give them that. They're all about quality. So if their quality is, if their integrity is at question, they will throw all that shit in the garbage, take them loss, and move on. And you got to be willing to do that to have a dope company. Microsoft, I'm a little skeptical. I know they got some games coming, but like I said, I want to see if they're going to really come to bat with the hardware like Sony is, because the Xbox One X is already like pretty much their next generation console. How much more are they going to put in it and make it, priceable? So there's questions here. There's a lot of questions. Do I think the PS5 is going to be more powerful at this current moment of today? Yes, I do. I think both new consoles will be close in performance and power than each other as for next gen. Both consoles were close in performance this generation, believe it or not. The difference between the consoles was literally 1 gig of DDR. 1 gig was the difference. That was making a difference where you saw games coming in at 952p on Xbox and 1080p on PlayStation. It was really 1 gig. Literally 1 gig was causing that. 1 gig, which was going towards the Connect, was causing those problems. Really. And they never really recovered from that. So hardware-wise, they should know better this time. No gimmicks. Just go in with the hardware and go crazy. Now, PlayStation has a reason to have beefier hardware than the Xbox. A lot of y'all are not factoring in, and we'll discuss that now. The PlayStation is looking to have a refresh of the VR, which I have a VR and I actually like it. I don't use it, but with the little bit of time that I use it, it's a great ideal. I like VR. I actually like VR for the 5 minutes that I could play it before I start puking, before I start feeling like I'm a faint and die. Last time I had on the VR, I was playing, what's that game? London Heist. And when I was playing London Heist, I loved every minute of it. But when I took that headset off, boy, I thought I was going to meet Jesus. I couldn't stop sweating. I was dizzy. I had to lay down. I know it's the refrain. I was told by a lot of people it's the refresh rate of the actual headset is too low. So the PlayStation 5 needs to be a little bit stronger to, push that VR the way it needs to. So it needs that extra power, because I'm going to explain something about VR that a lot of people don't talk about, hardware-wise. Your tech guys here for you. The VR headset of the PlayStation is actually running double the frames that the game runs at if you watch it on your TV. So if the game is running at 30 frames, the VR has to be running at 60. Now, in order for it to hit 60, and what causes the dizziness is, it's not actually hitting 60. It's hitting an interpolation of 60. So for those of you who don't know what interpolation is when you take a frame and you double it. It's not actually 2 frames, it's just 1 frame doubled. So that can cause dizziness, fatigue, stress. It could cause a lot of nausea. And that is what the PlayStation VR headset is doing. So that's why you get like a little bit more dizzy on that headset than per se if you use the Oculus Rift or something like that. You would get more dizzy with the PlayStation one because those frames are not true frames, and it's not fast enough, and it's not a good enough frame rate. All right, so that's why the PS5 needs better hardware than an Xbox, believe it or not. That's one of the reasons I speculate the PlayStation is going to be stronger than the Xbox. That's actually one of the reasons I speculate that a lot of people not thinking about, but you got to factor in they want to push VR. They have a new version of VR coming out, and they need more power to push that than you would need in an Xbox console, because Xbox is not pushing VR. So the Xbox would not need as much hardware to come with the same quality kind of game for power and performance, if you understand that. So let me recap what I just said. The Xbox doesn't need as much power to come with the same quality games as a PlayStation. PlayStation needs more power than the Xbox to push the VR version of those same games. So the PlayStation needs to be more powerful than the Xbox in the long run. All right? So that's the reason I speculate that the PS5 should and will probably have better hardware than the Xbox. The PlayStation 5 is looking at a minimum of 500, but I'm not putting it past the PS5 to have 2 versions when it comes out, or have 2 SKUs. They normally would never do that, so they probably won't. But I'm pretty sure we're going to see 2 PS5s, even if it's just like what they did with the Pro, where within a couple of years we saw a Pro version. So there's going to be definitely more than 1 PS5. But the minimum price should be 500. You want it to be 500 because if they're telling you 8K, if they're telling you SSD, if they're telling you all of these things at anything less than 500, then we know they're going to cut corners. You're going to get a bullshit SSD. You're going to get some crappy upscale. And Sony's not known for doing bad quality things. We all know that by now. So with that being said, I suspect that it will have to be at least $500. It could be more, but I don't think they will go higher than 5. I don't think they will. I think the PS5 is going to come out. They're going to try to push it, but they're also going to have the PS4 there for people who can't currently afford it at the moment. And the reason that they push those kind of consoles like that is because the more they manufacture, the cheaper it becomes. Once it gets cheaper, then they could lower the price and bring it into that entry level of $399, and it could take place to the PS4 and they could discontinue it. Y'all know how this works by now, though. I ain't got to re-break that part down. I'm pretty sure y'all been around enough to see how that cycle goes. So with that being said, I'm about to dip out of here. What do you think of the NVIDIA GPU equivalent would be? Okay, the ray tracing. I didn't talk about the ray tracing, so let me talk about that real quick. The ray tracing that they're talking about, ray tracing is something that is not new. NVIDIA is trying to peg that as like it's another buzzword. It's not new. Ray tracing is simply the tracking of light over objects. That's all. Another buzzword term that they're using on you guys. Ray tracing can be achieved with a cell phone. You know, ray tracing is not something that's hard to do. It's just something that they're using as a kind of gimmick. Ray tracing is just simply the tracing of light over objects. That's all that it is. You've seen it in games before. PlayStation 4 actually has ray tracing in it already. Some games, I forgot what, I don't have my other phone here to tell you, but somebody could Google it now and you'll see that there are PS4 games that actually have ray tracing in them already. So that's actually not nothing new. NVIDIA is trying to peg this as some new hot feature. I was about to say hot gimmick, but it is pretty much a gimmick. It's a feature that it can be used right and cause you to need a 1080 Ti, but you don't need that just for ray tracing. So PlayStation already is using that. So that technology is really not nothing new. Really not nothing new at all. So there's not really much to say about that. Any console that's currently out right now can ray trace. That's a gimmick, man. Ray tracing is just another buzzword, another term that is used that means nothing. All right. Anyway, I need to end this stream. It's getting a little busy out here. If you catch this on a playback and you want to hit me up with some comments, let me know. I'll reply to you guys. A lot of you guys seem like y'all had some kind of questions, but this is all new. So you guys probably have to like let this sink in a little bit more. And that's cool. That's cool. But you know, I'm not gonna get too tech talky because people seem to get mad when you know what you're talking about. All right, so I'm not gonna get too crazy with it because people are gonna get crazy. You think it's harder for software ray tracing? Software ray tracing on ray tracing is pretty much done software side, but the hardware is needed to actually do the job, because pretty much what it is it's a task being done, and that's why you need a hardware that's capable of actually let me explain why Nvidia promoted ray tracing the way they did, and that'll explain your question, hardhead. Ray tracing is just like when you double the frames in a game. So if a game is 30 frames at 4K, if you bump it up to 60, it's going to be more stress to do. When you add ray tracing, it's like bumping it up to 90. So pretty much what you're doing is you're running the game twice. So it's just like when you turn on your PC and you click a game and it opens, and you accidentally click another game and you have two games open. Notice how your CPU starts to struggle to play both games because it takes up so much CPU just to play one. That's the same process for ray tracing. So ray tracing has a way of being done where it's like running a game 2 times on hardware. It's very strenuous. So ray tracing needs a lot of power, but like I said, the term is simply something that could easily be done through, you know, software. It depends on how good it's going to be, though. You know, PlayStation has a way of working magic with its hardware, so it may do as good ray tracing as an Nvidia, but not on no 4K, not no 1080 Ti level. It's just going to be good enough that you see it. And Sony has a way of developing pretty well quality, but it's not going to be on par with a 2080 Ti. It's not happening. Like, people could think that, but once again, keep in mind, if it was, this PlayStation would be like $2,000, $1,500, $1,000. It's not going to be $500. So for people who think you're going to get an SSD, an upscaled 8K, and ray tracing and a $500 console, nope, it's not happening. So I'm gonna tell you guys flat out, if you even believe that, you're crazy. You should know better. But outside of that, man, yeah, it's gonna be those things, just not on the PC high-end level. It just won't be on that level. But Sony has proven to us that their quality is enough to not question that. So I'm not even gonna go, hey, it's not gonna be better than PC, because God of War looks better than a lot of things I've seen on PC, no matter how I maxed them out. So with that being said, quality I'm not worried about, because Sony does the thing with the quality. Like I said, they'll burn a whole company if the quality is not up to par. And I like that about them, because I know I'm not going to get no shit quality most of the time. I'm just going to have to watch a lot of movies to play their games, but outside of that, you know what I'm saying? Oh, I got to say that. But anyway, now I really got to get out of here, guys. I think so, too. Well, I don't know about subscription for the console, but subscription for gaming, yeah. But anyway, I'm out of here, guys. I really got to go. Nice answer some of your comments. Just leave the question in the comment section, and I'll come back and answer it, because I got to get out of here. I got to go change and all of that.